What if America made an empire in 2023? What if the US established an empire in 2023? It's a topic that's been posed by many, but few have taken the time to properly ponder the consequences. Today, we'll investigate what would happen if the United States chose to spread its power beyond its boundaries and become a genuine empire. The first thing that would need to happen is an increase in the US military. In order to establish an empire, the US would require a strong military presence in important sites across the globe. This would necessitate a large increase in military expenditure, which would likely result in cutbacks to other sections of the budget. After the military is in place, the US would need to start extending its area. This might be done through a mix of conquest and diplomacy. The US would likely target weaker nations with important resources and use its military strength to gain control of those resources. This would eventually lead to war, both internally and internationally. There would be demonstrations and bloodshed in countries that the US wants to invade, and there would likely be reactions from other nations that perceive the US as a danger to their own sovereignty. The US would also need to make partnerships with other nations in order to retain its empire. This would imply offering economic and military assistance to friendly countries while punishing those that refuse to comply. At home, the US would need to spend massively on infrastructure and education to retain its economic supremacy. The US would also need to guarantee that its population is loyal to the empire, maybe via propaganda campaigns or forced military service. Yet all of this would certainly come at a cost. The US would need to surrender some of its liberties and democratic principles in order to sustain its empire. This might lead to demonstrations and civil turmoil at home as some Americans fight back against the government's dictatorial measures. Lastly, the US would need to cope with the logistics of sustaining an empire. This would require stationing military soldiers in different regions of the globe, which might be costly and risky. So, what if the US built an empire in 2023? Although it's hard to tell precisely what would happen, it's apparent that the US would need to make substantial sacrifices in order to establish and sustain its empire. Only time will tell whether the US government and its people are willing to make such sacrifices.